Tonight happened to be the 14th, Monday the 14th of August. We're going to do the classic entry to the observatory. The observatory is all configured for use. I pointed the scope towards Altair, and we still have the beauty of orange sky, tan sky in the distance. Finally, I want to show you the effects of the brightness setting by running it up. And that once again pixelates the screen. So we're going to run it all the way back down to Z. 0 for us Americans. I'm going to mount the camera on this stationary position. However, it does vary from night to night. There is some flexure in it. So that's why the screen will sometimes appear at different points and different sizes. Okay, here is the camera once again mounted on the screen. I'm playing with the position a little bit. Settings and picture adjust mode. Color gain's what it was. The hue's been shifted left to give a little more variation in color. Sharpness is dropped down to get rid of some pixelation. Contrast is a little bit more in mid-range, and brightness is about where it was. Okay, we're looking at the dumbbell as we do this. Here, let's fall into Messier 8, the Trifid nebula with a new group of settings. The tint now is in the red region because I readjusted the hue, among other settings. This certainly looks more dynamic. It'd be nice if we had something like the flame where I knew the actual color, which is reddish. But presumably most nebulation is going to be probably more towards the red than it would be towards the blue that we had the other evening. We are seeing now Messier 20, the Trifid nebula, in red color mode as opposed to being more bluish as earlier. It'd be interesting to be able to integrate the colors, but that is not something I can do with real-time imaging, nor do I have the expertise to accomplish it. I do like the color, however. It'll be interesting to compare to some color shots that have been taken and color corrected by professional observatories to get a better sense of the tint. So here is our Trifid. Messier 18, I'm not seeing much of anything on the screen except for the open cluster. I may have to run up the brightness of the screen a little bit, but I'm going to just leave settings the way they were and experiment at a later date. One thing I am noticing with the new settings, we're not getting as much saturation at 128 flood as we were when we were tending to set the hue to the bluish range. This, of course, is the Swan nebula. It's never appeared with color as bright as it is through a 6-inch scope with the eyepiece. We are seeing some extensive nebulation, although probably not as well highlighted as the previous evening. I do believe we're now looking at the Eagle Nebula, M16. Once again with a serious reddish tint. However, there's nice textural variations. It'll be interesting to actually see these tomorrow because I'm craning my neck at a very odd angle, and the screen looks a little different with the new settings that I put in to the imager itself, especially when it comes to screen brightness. Another planetary nebula, this one's an Aquila, 6772 NGC, magnitude 14, so faintish and large, 75 by 55 arc seconds, 4100 light years distant. The central star is magnitude 18.1. I do believe I see it on the screen here. I doubt we're going to see any color. It would be interesting. Another opportunity at something on the zenith, NGC 6779, also known as Messier 56, globular cluster Lyra, 8.3, 5 arc minutes. Brightest stars of magnitude 13, a class 10, 32,000 light years distant. It'd be nice to compare that one as well. Well, I'm liking this one, another planetary nebula, NGC 6781, an Aquila, magnitude 11.8, 111 by 109 arc seconds. Central star 16.9, do you see it? It's 6.5 degrees above the celestial equator. Nice to have re-encountered this one as well. NGC 6804, another planetary nebula. This one's an Aquila, magnitude 12.4, 63 by 50 arc seconds. The central star is 14.2, 5,600 light years distant. We're about 9 degrees above the celestial equator. I guess we'll be waiting till tomorrow to be able to determine whether it's visible on the screen. NGC 6809, obviously a globular cluster. This one's in Sagittarius, also known as Messier 55, magnitude 6.3, large, 19 arc minutes. Its brightest stars are 11.2, class 11, 17,000 light years distant. The interesting thing is we are minus 31 degrees, and we are actually getting a view, and anything in Capricorn at this point, with not anywhere near culmination, 25 degrees, we weren't seeing anything. As you see, 6814 is a galaxy in Aquila, magnitude 11.2, 3.5 by 3.5. It's a face-on. And at magnitude 11.2, its core would be about magnitude 12, but any kind of ring, which is supposed to have a bar and a ring, would be somewhere in the 16th magnitude. So I don't know. I can't tell on the screen. I can see where the galaxy is located. There are hints of a ring. I'd be impressed by that, but we are looking minus 10 degrees declination, not the best part of the sky. All right, our comparo study that I'm using as a baseline, NGC 6888, Nebula in Cygnus, the Crescent Nebula, magnitude 10, 20 by 10 arc minutes, an emission type nebula, 4,800 light years distant, 38 degrees north declination. It looks to be mostly there. What I would look for is faint nebulosity off the actual bow of what I would consider an arrow. This is with color mode, so see if any of that turns up either. Let's go back to the dumbbell before we hail and salute off. Yep. Let's watch it form on the screen because it reveals different layers of texture. M27, the dumbbell nebula, it should be displaying some color because I set it up with color, and that's part of our experiment for the evening. I also pressed synchronize just about everything except for deep south studies because they tend to drift to the top of the screen to the lower part where the high contrast area is. Can't tell you whether or not we're actually seeing color in it. I'm seeing some, yes. Getting way off axis, I'm seeing some oranges, whites, blues. I think we're getting a pretty good spread of color on this. So I think the settings are probably pretty decent. The central star is quite apparent. Interesting because at 128 flood, the sky with the dumbbell practically culminating, I would expect it to be washed out. And if we're not washing it out, but we're still getting galaxy depth down to 16.5 magnitude in the darkest parts of the sky, I will remain with these particular settings, although I have been known to fool around with things quite extensively, but don't tell anybody that. Carpe, not.